Hey, we're back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Milestone Strength Show.
Hey!
Today, we're going to talk all about habits. We found that the most successful / best received content.
Just pulling my shorts
I
down.
thought you were showing me something
They
there.
were alarmingly high. Sorry for everybody at home.
The most positively received content tends to be about self-betterment.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that you and I personally discuss a fair bit, so I guess it makes sense to share it with everyone else. One of the questions I did as a Q&A on my Instagram on the weekend was about procrastination. You had the idea to talk about habits, so
Let's combine the two.
procrastinate your habits.
Let's talk about procrastination first.
Okay.
Because we can kind of silo.
Wait, let's do it later.
Yeah, good episode. See you later. I think I make that joke every week too. And then we can talk about habits and we can dive into how you can set up some good habits to prevent procrastination.
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
you procrastinate?
Yeah. Less now than I used to. I've just learned what works best for me in terms of like when I'm most productive, and I work within those constraints now.
Sure.
If I tried to just get on and do a thing I don't want to do when I don't want to do it, I know I won't do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's a textbook definition of procrastination.
Yeah, but I don't procrastinate like.
I'm not saying you do, I'm just saying that one or two, those things.
Yeah.
I think everybody does to some extent. Like, no one's just like, yep, never procrastinating, never putting off that job.
No one wants to do the thing they don't want to do.
Of course not. Path of least resistance and all
Yeah,
that jazz.
absolutely. So for me, it is often the things that I procrastinate things that should be fun to do. Like if someone goes to me, hey, can you go pick out your favorite items from this list to send you? I'll leave that for a week.
Sure.
I don't know why.
Yeah, that's weird.
Whereas if I know I have to do like edit a video or something like that, generally I'll film it, edit it, get it done, it's done, it's out of the way.
Okay.
The things that should be enjoyable are often things. Like right now, I'm putting off picking out furniture for our new house.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I've been looking forward to for a while.
Yeah.
But as we speak, I just haven't done it. It's just on my list of things to do, and I don't know why I'm putting that off. But
Yeah, that's an interesting.
maybe it's because I'm not in a creative mindset this morning and I didn't want to do it. I'm waiting till I know from 2:30 till 5 in the afternoon is when I'm most productive.
Right.
Don't know why that is, but that's when I get the most work done.
Sure.
So I'll just wait and do it then.
Do you ever fall victim to the nirvana fallacy of if something can't be perfect or a solution can't be perfect, then I'm just not going to do it?
No.
No?
I'm good at not doing that.
Okay.
I'll often work out a solution, do it the best I can,
Mm-hmm.
deliver it, and then if I can improve it, if someone gives me feedback of how I can improve it, I'll improve it. But I won't just not do it because it's not perfect.
Sure.
Because that would frustrate the hell out of me.
That's a big one that a lot of people fall into. It's like, and you especially see it with policy and government, but people just go, well, that's not perfect, so not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's something people need to get over, because your 5 out of 10 attempt is always better than a 10 out of 10 attempt that doesn't get done, right?
Yeah, or a 0. Yeah, that's exactly. Tristan and I had a discussion about this last week about he messaged me. He's like, oh, I didn't send it to you because it wasn't done. I was like, well, just tell me it's not done, and then I know where it's at, rather than just not sending it to me, not knowing where it's at. And that's exactly it. It's that mindset. Because I don't have that mindset, it wasn't something I considered. So it was interesting hearing from him being like, well, I wanted to give you the finished thing rather than send you half of the thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think people don't understand that a lot of what happens in procrastination could be solved with more effective communication between you and the other party.
Communication is just the biggest thing in general. Do you think that's a big thing that falls into procrastination in general? Communication?
I think so.
What about if you're doing something for you? Who are you procrastinating? Who's the communication need to be there?
I think if you're doing something for you and you're procrastinating it, you really need to take a look at your own self-worth and self-esteem. I think it's a deeper lying issue.
Yeah.
Because I think if you even say, I don't know, what's something I hate doing? I hate doing bookkeeping. I hate it.
Yeah.
But if I'm putting it off, am I using an avoidance strategy that why don't I value my own time?
Yeah.
Why don't I value what doing the task, where that will put me? And that's something you've got to turn around and take a look at, because it's the same as exercising, right? So lots of people don't like to train.
Yeah.
But where's it going to be if you keep not training? And it could be self-worth, it could be the fact that a lot of things aren't, it's instant gratification. We want instant gratification, and we're not going to get it through a lot of these things. Like you don't feel instantly better.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of procrastination lives in those two areas, the self-worth and self-esteem. Why don't you want yourself to keep moving forward? And it's not going to benefit me right now. I'm not going to feel the good thing right now, so fuck it up.
Do you think that you're not going to get instant gratification? You were talking about bookkeeping, and you and I are the same there. I dislike that, so I just pay someone else to do it for me. But I'm at a point with finances and money. I think we've talked about this before. Stress me out a little bit, and so I don't want to deal with it. I put it off, and that's something I definitely procrastinate. Once I got someone to do it for me, I then stressed about talking to that person about having it done.
Right.
But then as soon as I talked to them, it was instant gratification. I felt like, what was I stressing about? I shouldn't have done that. So now I know that doesn't stress me out, because I know as soon as they contact me, I speak to them and it's sorted. It's done. Yep. It's figured out, because they're much better at it than I am. They just tell me what to do and I do it. But it took me a while to realise that it was an instant gratification once I made the first step.
I don't know. I think there's a difference as well between, like, maybe I used a bad example, because I just find it boring.
Oh yeah.
I don't get stressed or anxious about
anyone that's an accountant or works with money, props to you. I could not do that.
Yeah. But I guess to jump to a different example of things that I don't like to do and find stressful.
Meal prep?
Nah. I find counting macros very tedious. But I guess dieting. Dieting's a good one to jump into as well, because you can... That's a little bit of the nirvana fallacy, you know, if you think...
I'm not 100% with it.
Not 100%, what's the point?
We'll get it back on that, because that's a really good one.
And some people also just struggle with it. They find it too tedious, too much, and oh, fuck, I gotta push it away. So, yeah. I guess you've got to figure out what you're going to get from it, and think that even if you may not get instant gratification from the thing that you're doing, the delayed gratification is also going to be worth it.
Yeah, 100%.
And especially with things that you procrastinate.
So let's move on from just procrastination and go towards how do you set yourself up in a habit to get rid of that procrastination. How do you set yourself up in a habit to do the things you don't want to do? Meal prep's a great one. Training's a good one.
Yeah.
Waking up a certain time is a good one.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of different things there that people probably would like to improve their lives with, and you and I both know how often we get asked the question of, like, how do I set myself a better sleep schedule? How do I maintain my diet? And we've talked about the difference between motivation and habits being the thing that's going to get you there. How do they start making habits?
Yeah.
How do you start making habits?
So, a lot of my habit forming stuff is from a book by a guy called James Clear. Check out his work, he's really good. But so a habit wants to take the path of least resistance. That's just human nature, right? It's how we're wired and biologically and all that stuff. So that being said, people think, path of least resistance should just be eat the donut rather than eat the chicken meal, right? Whatever. But the idea is take a step back and take a macro view of your life and your world and what you're doing, and you want to create systems that make that the path of least resistance. So meal prepping, a good way to create a system that makes meal prep possible is only buy the things you want to put in your meal prep. So write yourself a list, only buy those things. Don't buy anything else. You know why? Because you can't eat it if it's not in your house.
On that, don't shop when you're hungry.
Yeah.
I regularly do that. I've been doing that lately. And I get home and I'm like, I think I said it to you last week. I went to buy one thing and I came back with a box of cookies, a box of red licorice, a tub of ice cream, and something else. I had no plans on having any of that. I wanted one snack thing, but because I was hungry, I was like, everything I saw was like, ooh. Yeah. And then it sat in my house, because I do have quite good willpower. That stuff then sat in my house for a week until eventually I was like, now I'm going to eat all of it at once.
Yeah, and everybody cracks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everybody cracks eventually. You might sit it out for 2 weeks, but you're going to have weakness. My wife and I used to go shopping, and if we were hungry, we would go shopping for our weekly food and then buy sushi.
Yeah.
And it's like, you end up spending like $50 more on the sushi
than you need to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So set up a system that creates the path of least resistance. Another really cool one, after you've meal prepped, if you don't want to... Now, we don't want everyone to track food forever, right? We want you to track food so that you can then intuitively eat, etc., etc. But if you track your food the night before, you put in MyFitnessPal the night before what you're going to eat tomorrow, your adherence is going to be heaps better.
Yeah, of course. It's already, you know what you've got to eat.
It's not, and you go, okay, well, I'm going to see that success. Training, going to sleep schedule is a really good one. Switch it so that, say you want to get up at 5:30 in the morning, right? but you know you need 9 hours sleep. Set an alarm 10 hours before that. When that alarm goes off, you've got an hour to get yourself to bed.
Yeah.
Again, that's creating the path of least resistance. It's setting a notion in your head that, at 9 o'clock, it's time to get ready for bed. Take a step back from the actual behavior that you're looking to implement and create something that lets that happen easier.
Yeah, for sure. I had some thought before you said about sleep that it was something to do with food. Mm-hmm. Now I don't remember what it was. Good podcast content. Me trying to think about what I wanted to say to a thing that you said.
How do you form habits? What do you struggle?
I find habits quite easy to build. Water. Drinking enough water is something that I struggle to do because I don't think to keep it on me. And I'm not a particularly thirsty person. That just sounds like funny.
He's a thirsty boy.
Drinking water, that was part of I think we talked about this on a podcast too, about the Gymshark 66 things. I will come and say, I failed that. I did not drink the amount I wanted to every day for that 66 days. Because there'd be times where I just didn't remember to take the liter. Right now, I'm going to train after this. I didn't bring a drink bottle.
Sure.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah. That's irrelevant to the podcast.
Yeah, that's just another fact there. So there's certain things there that I guess I want to make effort with, but it's also things that if it's something I know is going to drastically improve my life, I just do it. I've never noticed a huge difference from drinking a lot of water. During that period where I went quite consistently, 12 weeks, whatever it was, drinking more water, I didn't notice any difference. I didn't feel better. I didn't feel like sleep better. I didn't feel like I was healthier. Maybe that's just me personally, and it's like a placebo thing that I'm like, well, I didn't feel a difference, but I didn't. It's not something I go, no, I need to do that because of this reason.
Yeah.
For things like sleep and work and diet, I know there's a justifiable, tangible result that comes from doing the thing. So I just do it. But like you said, it is setting yourself up those habits. For me, it's knowing when I'm most productive and going, well, why struggle to work for 3 hours, be less productive? Just wait until I know that that's where I work best and sit at the computer and do that then.
Yeah.
Food's the same. I'm a very basic person. I know the things I find it easy to eat cleanly, so I just buy those things. Like you said, that is a great tip for anyone that's struggling to get their food on point. Don't buy crap, you can't eat crap. Like it is that simple.
Something that's also super counterintuitive about eating is it tends to be the more variety you put in your food, the less likely you are to stick to that meal plan and the more likely you are to experience hunger.
Yeah.
Which is weird, and I know it seems counterintuitive. I'm not saying just boil chicken. No. But keep your options relatively simple, and if you need to switch things around like the plant content that you're having. But there's also some really cool data on that if anyone wants to see it. It's super science heavy, so I won't go into it, but DM me about that. But yeah, eating similar things that, like Nate said, you know that you enjoy and you can eat repeatedly is a really good tool.
One of the questions we often get with our diet plans through the app is like, oh, do I just follow the same meal plan like for the 4 weeks here? Why doesn't it change each week? Because that's how you get success. You stick to it because that 1 week, then you just repeat that for the 4 week period.
Yeah.
And then we'll update it then and give you a bit of variation, but you're going to be more successful when you will stick to us, and that's why it is that way. Mm-hmm. Same with the training programs.
Yeah, and that's a big one. People, I think it's a concept known as affluenza. We just
not to be confused with influenza.
Not to be confused with influenza, but
confused. Well done.
That wasn't intentional. But people want A, the instant gratification, but B, the consistent change. Got to change. And maybe that's a scroll thing from social media that's kind of changing our wiring or whatever. But nobody gets good at shit by doing different things all the time.
Yeah.
Like what expert on the planet has just changes what they do every day? No one. Swap out which bicep exercise you do. Sure, I get it. That keeps things interesting. But your meat and potatoes, so to speak, your main things need to be the same in every single habit, every single behavior that you want to exhibit. It needs to be the same thing again and again and again and again. And I know that might sound boring, but that level of discipline increases your skill level to create the freedom to do the things you want to do.
100. They say to be a true expert at anything takes 10,000 hours. Doing 10,000 different things for an hour is very different to doing one thing 10,000 times.
Yeah, there's that Bruce Lee quote that's, like, they don't fear the man that's practiced 10,000 kicks. They fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. And that's like it's chop wood, carry water. Just do the same things. Keep doing those things, and yeah. There's your current self, right? Living in everyday moment, right? This is Daniel Kahneman's stuff. He's a behavioral economist. And it's the experiencing self, right? How are you today? Yeah, good, whatever. Then there's the remembering self that remembers the macro aspects of your life, right? The experiencing self kind of just wanders blindly through that moment. Maybe being mindful, maybe being present, maybe not, maybe being hungry, maybe not, whatever. The remembering self is what really drives your behavior, irrelevant of the experiencing self. So maybe those two can never be on the same page, right? But use your remembering self to set your goals, set your habits, and then your experiencing self, every time you think, oh, I'm hungry or I want to eat something different, just have a think about what your remembering self did. You're the same person. You might be two slightly different brains in different moments, but at the end of the day, if your remembering self sets goals and habits that you really wanted to achieve, forget about what the experiencing self's doing in that moment, because it'll come back around. You will be happy again.
Yeah.
The craving will pass, So it's something to remember in that what you feel in the moment isn't necessarily what you actually want to achieve with your life.
100%. Let's talk about writing down goals and setting things in, well, I was going to say stone, but probably paper or in your phone. Chisel them down or they don't count. Setting goals, that's a big one for some people, that tangible, as I said before, writing it down and seeing it there in order to stick to it. Do you think there's merit in that? Is that the best way to do things? Is it a personal thing?
I think it's a good way to do things because you can't move the goalposts, and people like to do that.
Yeah.
I want to be 10% body fat, whatever, it's a bad example, but, and then they're like, yeah, 11's close enough.
Yeah.
Or did I change that to 11? Did I really want to be 10? So writing it down is good. Another reason I think writing it down is great is it lets you then step into, I want to be 10% body fat, whatever. It lets you put in 5 or 6 sub-steps that will get you there.
Yeah.
And as you know, and you're big on being task-oriented rather than goal-oriented, that allows you to be both.
Yeah.
Because you can set the daily goals, which is your process, and you can focus on the process, and it's going to get you to that end goal. So.
And I guess that's where you can even write down that breakdown steps. You write down the end goal and then go, these are the things. Like you said, you work backwards to see how you're going to hit that end goal. I go to bed at this time, I get this much sleep each night, and I do this, and I eat this thing, and we're talking fitness generally here. Yeah. Whatever it is there, and it's going to help you break that down a bit.
Yep.
Do you have anything like that you've worked on currently, that you have sort of set yourself an end goal, and that you've just written a new program, new diet for yourself?
Yep.
That's as of yesterday?
As of yesterday, yeah.
What
I wrote that over the weekend.
What are your plans, structure for that?
So the overall goal was to maintain as much muscle mass as possible and increase my endurance whilst staying healthy. I don't know if anybody knows this, but I've just been injured since I was like 18.
He refuses to train with me and use the excuse of, I broke another thing.
I had a couple of reconstructions, and then the last few years I've just been a real victim of bad luck.
Yeah. I can account for that.
I've had a couple of major head injuries, dislocated an elbow, just weird stuff has gone on. It's about maintaining as much muscle mass as I possibly can, increase my endurance, and rehab my injuries, not just work around them like I normally do.
Yeah.
So what normally happens with me is I write a program, I get a few weeks into it, and I go, I want to do something else. Or I go and train and do something else. Or I'm like, I should run, and I go and run, and I just end up moving away from that program, and I think, stuff that let's write a new one. And with dieting, I tend to maintain feelings of guilt if I have a blowout. So the way I'm mitigating it this time is, and this is going to seem so data heavy and obsessive to people, but bear with me. I'm tracking my intake each day, writing it in a spreadsheet, tracking my weight, blah, 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 making sure I'm within 10% of my calories and macros every day. But what that's doing for me at the moment is it lets me be done with that day and move on to the next.
Yeah.
So yesterday I was within 3 grams of every macro. Beautiful. But that doesn't mean anything today.
Yeah.
And whereas today, if I have a blowout, which I won't, but if I did, that doesn't mean anything tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so it's about avoiding, that's the way I'm going to avoid that over the next 12 weeks. And that in and of itself will allow me to track where I'm at, maintain as much muscle mass as possible, because you do need to be alarmingly particular if you're trying to increase endurance and maintain muscle mass. There is an intersection of where those things start to counteract each other. So you need to be super specific. So it'll not only allow me to manage that, but moving forward, it'll allow me to forget about the day that's been. And sometimes I have paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
Like, so much information, and I sometimes prioritize being smart over just doing something.
We're the opposite there.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it's the smarts and stuff needs to be removed from the weight room in the kitchen. Keep that in academia.
Yeah.
Do the work, even if the work's a 6 out of 10. If I don't want to train legs today, I just need to do it.
Yeah.
Because
I definitely, we joke about it maybe an opposite there, but it is. That's the case. You and I, that's where you and I do differ very much. If I say I'm just going to do a thing, regardless of how I feel, whatever the everything else says, I still just go and just do the thing.
Yeah.
Unless my body's going, you need to take a break here.
Yeah, but that's different. The overarching structure.
Yeah, 100%. And we've had that before. We've gone to do a leg session, and I'll just do the thing, and I'll keep putting the work in, even though I'm like, I don't really want to be doing this. Whereas sometimes I've noticed that the problem is your logic is very flawless. You do look into all the science of it to, I think, your own detriment at times.
Yeah, definitely. I'm first to admit that.
Which is interesting.
But then it also can go the other way with your elbow and overuse injuries that you sometimes get because you're just going, I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going, I need it. I think part of that too is your need to lift for mental. Like 95% of your lifting is not anything to do with working your body. Like you need to just get in and shift things.
Because I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a really good point. The learning how to adjust for injury was something that took me a while, and I guess that was another form of procrastination for me, was because I enjoyed the process so much, I didn't want to take away and do the thing I had to do to let that heal itself.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't. It's still an ongoing thing. My elbows still flare up from time to time, and that's something that I'm yet to understand how or why, because I did change my habits and change the way I was lifting and patterns there. But maybe if 6 months earlier I had have started, I'd be 6 months ahead of where I am now.
Exactly, and it's so hard. That's back to that experiencing self and remembering self. The experiencing self thinks, like 2 weeks ago I hurt my elbow at my sister's house building, and that 2 week, like the thought of taking 2 weeks off, I was like, I can't. That's insane. That's so long. Whereas when you think about your remembering self, what's 2 years as part of a decade of 2 weeks? Sorry, as part of a decade of progress.
Yeah, nothing.
It's nothing. So you've got to really try and marry that experience and remembering self up and think, what is best for me long term?
Yeah.
You know, and they're both going to have insightful points to offer to your progression and your habit building and beating procrastination and hitting your goals, but you've got to give them the voice at the right time.
Yeah, for sure.
Temporary pause, we just had to change cameras.
Yeah, apologies for that. We're set back up now. The question I asked Lane there was, say you're 9 weeks into a 12-week prep, training program, whatever it is, and you feel your habits start slipping. You miss a day, you have a few days off diet, something gets in the way. What are some strategies, or what would you suggest to people in order to either get back on track or not let that truly bring them down? Because some people, as you said, that nirvana fallacy of, well, if it's not perfect, I can't do it. I've let slip, so I may as well just give up now. How do we get past that notion and slip back into it?
Yeah, the big one is to remember that to err is human. Like, humans make mistakes. Even everyone you follow on social media, like last week, like Jocko, who gets up at 4:30, he put a post up like, slept till 6:30 today, whatever. Get back on the wagon. Understand that you will stuff up. That's okay. That's fine. Stuffing up again and again and again is what's going to send you down a guilt or a shame spiral. So just try and get back on the horse as quickly as you can.
100%, and that's exactly where I go with that is, the longer you leave it, the more you go, well, I'll just give up on that, or I'll come back to it later on. The more you're going to have those feelings of resentment towards yourself and towards the goal, and you're not going to want to continue on with it because you've let slip. Whereas if you go, well, I had 1 day, 2 days, a week, whatever it is, start again.
Doesn't matter.
Get back to where you were.
Yeah, exactly.
What you said before with your diet about taking it day by day, that's a really great way of doing it. Is rather than setting yourself a 12-week end goal and just that's the end, the day by day breaking it down to that goal is a really good way of staying accountable with that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of data on the more people weigh in and the more people check in with the thing that they're doing, the better adherence they tend to have.
Yeah.
So it's just about, for me, and in anything that's that's like that. That's a way to focus on the process and be process driven. Nail every single day. That's all you can do, and that's all you have to do. If you can nail a 24-hour period, how easy is that?
Yeah.
You're asleep for 8 of them.
Nailed it.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you only got to you can nail 16 hours worth. Easy. And if you stuff up for an hour, you've nailed 15 out of 16 hours. Don't let that then completely derail you.
What would you say to people who are so driven by particularly diet macros and calories, if they have a blowout meal, a cheat meal, as we don't like to call them, and feel like they have to make up for that?
Don't do it. Yeah, definitely don't do it. Don't then eat less or train more or anything like that. You've got to remember that this is for people who are following things properly, right? Granted. Your programming and nutrition exists in an overall system. The system is incredibly complex. It's probably delivered to you in a very easy fashion.
Yeah.
But that system is incredibly complex, right? So, this is something I really try and explain to clients a lot. You have a blowout day or a day you don't train, right? And you put a spike in your plan, in your linear progress. What do you think trying to mitigate that spike's going to do? It's going to create another one in the opposite direction. And then all of a sudden, we've got 2 disruptions to the system.
Yeah.
1 disruption to the system is better than 2, even though you think you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's one of those cases where logic shouldn't dictate it. You know, the logical thing would be, don't do it. Yeah, don't do it. I try to
summarize.
I try to explain this to people, and I'm just trying to sell it without hurting anyone's feelings.
But it can be simplified down a lot. So much of building habits is a simple, just do it.
Mm.
Set the thing and stick to the thing. Mm-hmm. Work tirelessly towards your goal.
Yep. Just be tougher than that one little desire.
Yeah. I think one of the best things that you and I both said, and I don't know where I got it from, you probably know where I got it from, is that be better than your excuses. Mm. That's something that I've had some people be like, oh, I wish you could do this with this. Just be better than that. Don't use that as an excuse to let yourself slip into that or not do the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
If you have something you want to do, find an excuse to do it, not to do it.
Yeah. Do you think comparison gets in the way of a lot of people? Like, do you think a lot of people who follow you look at you as a almost professional athlete and think, well, I'd love to be able to do what he can do.
Yeah.
But because I can't do that, I don't know where to start.
I think people need to also realise that anyone you're looking at started somewhere.
Mm.
So if you're in that position where you're like, oh God, I'd love to look like that one, I'd love to be able to do that one thing. Well, everyone started at that point of not being able to do it. We looked at a video a week ago of when I was considered I'm teaching people how to do things, and we're like, look how bad my form was at that. Everyone progresses and everyone gets better along the way. You just at different stages of the journey. So don't let someone else who's at a more advanced stage deter you from starting now and becoming the best you can at it while you can.
Yeah.
Because if you just continuously comparing yourself to the top end of things, well, you're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah, right.
It's like watching Michael Phelps swim and be like, what's the point of getting in the pool? I can't swim like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a really good take-home message for people to remember that most of the people you either follow on socials or watch in the sporting and professional world have been doing this for decades.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with when we offer free training programs, free workouts on Instagram. We're just giving you some inspiration to go and train. And if this gets you moving and you're not already moving, great. If you want to get the end goal though, you have to follow a program and do the things that we actually teach people how to do. That whole thing there is not just that's not how we're training every day.
Yeah.
We're giving you ideas of how you can train. So
yeah, and I think people need to realise that they need to silo the world of Instagram, because a lot of people who do what you do and what we do that.
Yeah.
They're not just because you don't want to see my 12-week training program. You'll be so bored.
I also don't want to see it. This is the thing, we've spoken many times in the past, being I'll mention what are you training today? You're like, you won't want to do it.
But that's what I mean. It's for a lot of people it's boring, and it is the same thing every week for 4 weeks, and then maybe a movement changes. But
and then specific to your goals too.
Yes, exactly right. So you don't look at the inspiration, especially at the moment where we're dishing home workouts, banded workouts, dumbbell workouts. You don't need to follow that, and don't expect to follow that and reach the end goal. Follow that to get inspiration to work out. If money's tight, it's a great way to stay fit. But it's not going to be the way that you reach your end goal.
Yeah, for sure.
Because just like habits, you need to create a plan, and that plan needs to tie into the path of least resistance for you.
So let's summarise here. Set yourself a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Work out what your end goal is.
Set some homework. Let's set them some homework.
Oh, great, yeah.
That sucks. Listen to the podcast.
They're like, I did not sign up for this. Get a pen and paper, write this down. But seriously, set yourself a goal. Whatever it is in life that you have been procrastinating, you've been putting off, first of all, have a look at it and work out why it is you don't enjoy doing it. If it's because it's just shitty, boring work, that's fine. But then realize that doing it, the sooner you do it, the sooner it's done, and the sooner you'll have that gratification of having the positivity come from it. If it's working out an end goal, write that down and then break it down like Wayne said, work backwards and go, what are the smaller steps I can do to achieve that end goal? Because it's going to allow you to be more successful in your pursuit of that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And send us your goals. Write down anything, write down your plans, send us your goals. If you're having trouble with it, let us know. We'll help you the best that we can. But that's the homework that we want to see. Because again, you might think it's a little tiny behavior, but amplify that by the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years of your life and then think about where that behavior could take you.
Yeah, all those small little changes you make to better yourself are doing exactly that. You're bettering yourself more and more in the long run. So
Time's going to pass anyway, right?
may as well do something with it.
That's it.
We'll speak to you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye now.